Therefore, encourage one another and build each other up. First Thessalonians 5:11. Welcome to the Bar and Friends podcast, where it's my space, your story. This is your listening host, Christian Barr, giving you your listening and viewing pleasure, episode 108 of the Bar and Friends podcast. On tonight's podcast, we have a Latina from the 757, Virginia, woman of God, amazing mom of, I think, 2 teenagers, if I'm not mistaken, YouTuber, singer. I think she is. Yeah, I think I did see a video of her singing. Anyways, introverted, but can be extroverted when the time calls for it, like on this podcast. Anyways, and you might find her on some feature. What did I say? Feature on some future pop-up episodes, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all races, ethnicities, and cultures. We have Noed. No Ed, no Ed. I want to say Noel, but it ain't Noel. Give me the proper.
It happens a lot. It's no Ed.
No Ed. Okay, that's what I was going to say. No Ed on the Bar and Friends podcast tonight. How are you, friend?
I am good. Like, I'm glad to be here. And I'm here chuckling because you said singer. I'm like, singer? Where'd he get that from? And then I remembered it was a hidden video. I forgot. That was on TikTok.
I got a dare for you, straight out the gate.
Okay, what's up?
The dare that I have for you is that you have to sing a song that has been living rent free in your head.
I mean, I always have, and I don't know if it's neurodivergency or what, but every situation brings up a song. Like, it could be anything. But the song, can I talk about the one that's been stuck in my mind today?
Go ahead.
Is the "You Are More Than Able" da da dum is a da da dum part. It'll be the strangest things, but I'll when it's stuff like that, I have to play the song at least 50 times, and then it'll be out of my system.
Right.
But we play those songs. Those songs come up in our spirit for a reason, so might as well sing them. Might as well play them. Oh my god! How about you?
Me? Oh, you asking me? Okay,
I
I'll
don't
get
know.
this.
This is with friends, so
That's true.
I don't know.
That's true. Man, oof. A song that has been rent free in my head. Man, there's so much to go through. Oh man.
Juicy?
Yeah, right? Now, okay. Oh, Lord, I'm sorry, but I have to admit it ain't a Christian song, but um I have definitely been rocking a little bit with Sade. Do you know who
Okay.
Sade is? You know who Sade is.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm just now getting to know because, Latino upbringing and
Right.
in a very traditional household.
Yeah.
I'm catching up now.
We gonna get into that later, but yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
for sure, for sure. Okay, yeah, just a little bit
Yeah.
of the sweetest taboo, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's it.
God forgive me, Lord.
um, whew. What does motherhood look like for a woman who has been through what you have been through? Mm,
That's a loaded question. We could be
mm.
here all night talking about this.
Yeah, that's why I was like, mm.
Well, motherhood in general comes with a lot of guilt because It doesn't matter if you're a mom who is out in the workforce or if you're a stay-at-home mom. There's always some kind of guilt. There's, am I feeding the kids right? Am I playing with them enough? Am I attentive enough? But wait, now I'm a stay-at-home mom. I should be focusing on career too. There's always this guilt. And then let's not add comparison and the societal pressures to it all. It just makes it worse. I think for me, having lived an episode of trauma, I go back to that and like, how could I have protected them better? And I end up again revisiting guilt. And then I go back to the season where I'm like, okay, I'm healing while also trying to take care of these kids and making sure they're healing. And it's like I can't do it all. So I just did the best that I could. And now they're at this age where my oldest is turning 17 in a week. And I'm like, wait, I'm about to be the parent of an almost adult. This is weird. But it's like I hope that I did enough. I don't know. We shall see. But it is strange. It comes with a lot of guilt, and also kind of I don't say dodging. You kind of really have to filter a lot of people's opinions. Where it's like, oh, this is. I'm gonna just give you a tiny little example. My oldest has a job, and there were a lot of opinions as to how I should handle that. Like, no, she should be paying you rent, or she should be doing this and that. And it's like, well, I don't necessarily think that that's the best route. Just certain opinions. And it's like, also, y'all don't have the setup that I have. So please. And it's not that I'm not receptive to feedback, but it's like at the same time, I have to use discernment and I don't know. We'll figure it out.
What do you want your children to know about who you are and who God is?
Well, I want them to know that God is God. He's sovereign. And I know that sounds like a super uber spiritual answer. But at the end of the day, it's like he's not, yes, he's the Holy One seated on the throne. He still holds the world in his hands, but he's not inaccessible. Like, doesn't matter where you go in life, talk to him. However it is, just have a true, honest conversation. Don't practice religion, have a relationship. So that's my hope for my children, have relationship with God. As far as for me, it's like, hey, I'm just a human trying to figure it out. And I'm trying to do the best I can to live out my purpose and to have a relationship with God while also letting y'all know along the way because they know, and I'm very open with them about this. I'm an imperfect human. I messed up here, or I'm struggling spiritually today. Like I'm that open with them. I don't want them to think like, well, mom is this perfect spiritual person. I'm not. I'm struggling in this area, and I want them to know that that's okay too.
I have to say that when you shared with me your story, Lord Jesus,
Lord have mercy.
right? And I have to be careful because I'm always like, Lord, and you try not to measure people's testimonies and what they've been through, right? But like my heart and my intent is yes, I want to network, I want to make friends, of course, the Bar and Friends podcast, but it's like
Yeah.
I want to have people on my podcast that went through some ish, that went through some stuff, you know, and they are seeing your grace and your
Yeah.
mercy through it, you know,
Yeah.
and with you from the age of 4 or 5, maybe even from the womb, because from
Actually,
Jeremiah. Anyway,
started at birth.
I'm not going to preach, but
Yeah.
but it's like from the beginning, like obviously the hand of God was upon your life, and when you kind of like guided me through or shared with me cliff notes of your life, I'm like, man, like this has to be one of the most juiciest Genesis that I've had on the pod. And so, without further ado, please share with me your Genesis. And
Oh
listen,
gosh, you might have to moderate this one.
well, I know that. So when I go like this,
I got you.
because there has to be some Selah moments and just
Yeah.
moments where it's like, dang, like, And she's
And
still here. Go ahead.
yeah, but you know what's interesting? Well, I think find it interesting after we talk because I'm like, you said tell me. It's like when people say tell me about yourself. I'm like, I don't know. Where do you want me to start? Like, that's a little too vague for me.
Right.
And then I ended the conversation with like, oh my gosh, did I say too much? That's kind of crazy. But then the Lord reminded me that growing up the entire time, every time I will go to testimony service, I will hear these testimonies of people like, the Lord saved me from the streets and gunshot wounds. And I'm just like, I don't have a testimony to give.
Same. Same.
So after that call, it's like, you don't have a testimony to give? Stop. It just came back to memory.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was going to say this as well, but you kind of just opened the door right for me to just to go ahead and say this.
Hmm.
I had that same thought too because it's like I really wasn't on, or I really wasn't in the streets like that. I wasn't a
Yeah.
thug or a gangster or anything like that. But I mean, I did a little bit of the club life and
Hmm.
dating life and stuff like that. I mean, I think that we all have stories
Yeah.
that we have that were able to shift us into the path that God has called us to. You know what I mean? And so
Hmm.
I think that's the beautiful part of someone's testimony. It's like, even though you
Hmm.
probably were like a Christian, you grew up in a Christian
Yeah.
cutter lifestyle. I mean, you still had your experiences, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
But with yours, I'm talking about you personally. I'm just like, Lord have mercy. Wow.
And
Go ahead.
no, I'm just like, I don't know where you want me to start.
Okay, so I'm glad that you asked this question. Just in case you wanted a little bit of guidance, I want you to start from the age of 5 to 14, and then from 14 all the way up until where you're at now. So,
Okay,
yeah.
so yeah, I guess we could start with age 5. Yeah, so I was born in Puerto Rico, eldest daughter of 3, and the eldest daughters in this pod will understand what that encompassed because that's his own thing right there.
Mhm.
But I have 2 younger sisters, and my second sister, she has a cognitive disability. And at the time, there was no name for it. There was no diagnosis. And my parents were told, hey, maybe you should go check out the Cleveland Clinic Hospital in Cleveland. That actually may be the best option, maybe the best option for what she needs. And lo and behold, we moved, but we didn't yet know the Lord. But I do remember one of the visits to the Cleveland Clinic where this lady invited mom to church. I went with mom to church. She accepted the Lord, and that was the beginning of it all. Dad eventually came to the Lord, but my parents were pretty heavy in ministry early on. And this is a Hispanic Pentecostal church.
Mm.
So that meant Monday parents were in the Bible Institute. Of course, we're with them. We didn't have babysitters, at least not for a little bit. Tuesday meant Bible study at church. Wednesday, home service in somebody's house. Thursday, youth service. Friday, either men's or women's service. Saturday, like we were in church all the time.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
And there was no children's service. There was no. That's all like, because y'all have it so easy.
Yo.
But that was the beginning of it. But early on, I felt like I loved the Lord and was about the Lord. I don't want to compare myself to Samuel, but I think of him
Mm.
who was serving in the house of the Lord in the temple, and I'm sure he knew about him, and I'm sure he loved him. He served in the temple. He lived there, just like we lived at these services. Yet he didn't know the Lord, and that's kind of where I was at. Even though I was sold out for Jesus early on, I mean, I was the girl who at age 10 preached my first sermon. I still remember because we had a kids service. So the kids would run the worship, the announcements, the specials. So I was asked to preach on Barnabas, the blind man. And I still remember the prep work. Um, And that's when I knew like there's something here. Even though I don't yet know the Lord, there's something about the Lord. And that's when I started to fall in love with him. Um, but fast forward age 12, because it wasn't all pretty. Although, and I'm trying to say this very carefully, like
Mm,
I still, even though my parents were in ministry, we are still going through stuff at home, where the corporal punishment was the law, especially coming from my mom, where it at times will cross the line. And I say this very carefully because my parents are, number one, are still in ministry. Number two, we're good. We talked about this, we've sorted out. I don't want people like, ooh, your parents did it. No, like we're good. Um, but it led me to a route of depression in my life, along with always feeling or knowing that I'm different than the rest of the kids at church, different than the rest of the kids at school. Like I didn't feel like a normal kid because I just I was just different. So at age 12, yeah, I attempted again. Oh, at least I was planning to attempt against my life. And that's when I really knew that God had a plan for me. We went to a youth service that was 3 miles away. So for those from Ohio, context, I grew up in Cleveland. Church was in Columbus. That's at least a 3 hour drive. And so they put all the kids in the bus, went to the service, and then the leaders were like, we got to go because we have a long drive home. And we left, or we were about to leave. And then the preacher was like, hold on a second, as we were heading out the door. He said, somebody here tonight is going to attempt against their life. Don't do it because God has a plan for your life. And that was the first time ever that I knew, oh snap. Like I did not just know about God. Like he knows about me. Like there's something with me. And I was like, okay. At age 13, I accepted Jesus. I'm like, okay, we're gonna do this. But I then really became sold out for him. I was the weirdo who would gather all the PKs in front of the school before school. We gotta pray. We gotta have a prayer club. Um, and then I'll leave it at that because you said up until age 14, I became part of the prison ministry.
that's what I want you to talk about. Yes. Yeah. I want you to talk about the prison ministry because, yo, your dad snuck you in, right?
I wouldn't say it like that. I just think he didn't know any better. I don't think there was a motive like, "Ooh, let me sneak her in." He just
He had no idea. He didn't know. He didn't know. Okay.
okay. For some context, listen, my dad's been in prison ministry since I was a little kid. Like that's just has been his thing. I don't know why. He always says he always quotes Isaiah 61:1. Like the Lord's called me to, you gotta go read it for yourself.
Yeah, to go do the things. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go
Hmm.
go get there in prisons and blah blah blah.
Right.
That's
Right.
just been the burden of his heart. So my parents, they don't speak English very well. They've gotten much better over the years, but at the time, like it's very hard when you are know the word of the Lord in Spanish and now you're trying to preach it in English. That's very challenging. I'm just now getting the hang of that. So he would I think it was every other Sunday or something like that, would take a group of volunteers to the juvenile correctional in this bus, and they would go in and they would run a service, et cetera, et cetera. And my dad started to bring me, and of course, I'm sold out for Jesus. Like, oh my gosh, and I'm nosy, and I have a thing for criminal justice. I don't know why. So I'm like, this is perfect. At age 14, here we go. So I would go in and would help translate, would sing, or whatever was needed. No big deal. But then the correctional facility, one Saturday, they had like a special training for the volunteers. Like they just kind of wanted to show them the ropes, give a tour of the correctional facility, and just kind of some housekeeping things. And as a fun icebreaker, the chaplain at the time was like, okay, who here is the oldest? He was trying to figure out like who was the oldest volunteer and who's the youngest and who's been here the longest and who's like fun icebreaker. But he just kept going down in age. And when he got to 18 and he's like, who here is younger than 17? And he kept going lower and lower and lower. And that was a conversation with dad. He's like, yo, we can't have a minor be a volunteer at a juvenile correctional facility. And I remember his name, Reverend Clark. Listen, Reverend Clark, I think he saw that I was really, really in for this. He's like, no, you can't come back to the facility, but you can still serve the correctional ministry. And he just gave me some admin work. I was still part of the ministry, just doing admin work. Um, but I've always had a heart for I don't know, for the people that
Wow.
have been incarcerated.
When you were younger, before they found out your age and when you were going, did you ever speak to any of the people that were incarcerated? Do you remember like the words that you spoke, that the words that you encouraged them with?
I didn't have actual conversations. I knew pretty early on that that's not something, especially because it was an all boys correctional facility. Just like you, that's not something you do. Nobody told me that, but you just kind of learn the rules of engagement. So I just focus on the translation. Like, hey, I'm translating for dad, or I'm singing, etc. Um, just focus on that.
Okay. Okay. Got you. Got you. Ugh. Hmm. I want to see how I can be able to work around this question. You said that there was some punishment that was going on in the house
Hmm.
um, from your mother.
Hmm.
Did she? Oh man, did she realize back then that that was a form of? I can't really find a word to say, and this is why I have these conversations pre-recorded.
It's okay.
Like, did she find that what she was doing was low key abusive? And did she ever address it to you in the future and be like, you know what? I was a little bit harsh with you. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, she did address it in the future. I don't know if at the time she realized it, but knowing her story, it's like, okay, you were abused too. And grandma was abused too. Like you just see that pattern that just kind of gets passed down from generation to generation. But it was at I want to say a women's conference, there was an altar call, and we're just like at the altar call, and next thing I know, my mom just comes to me and just starts to sob and hug me and say, I am so sorry. And I feel like in that moment, she felt a conviction. And there has been moments where, like, even how she was towards me when had my first kid, because my parents, this is a story for a long time, but my parents didn't agree with the person who I had married, who I fathered these children with, and how they thought they needed to approach that. And part of that reconciliation was, oh my gosh, we were kind of cruel to you, weren't we? Or, like there was that, I am so sorry. Don't get me wrong, I still had to deal with the ramifications of that. But there was no resentment. There was no, like it's good. Like we're good. So I
Mm,
still have a relationship with my parents and yeah.
got you. But did you in the back of your head, did you ever say to yourself, you know what? When I have kids in the future, I'm not gonna do what mom and dad are doing to me. I'm gonna raise my children in a different way.
I think I thought that, but at the same time, it's like I don't know what I'm doing as a parent. The only thing I know is I gotta raise them in the path of the Lord because that's all we're told in Proverbs, right?
Yes.
And that's all I knew, and I've just winged it from the beginning. And it's like, because I had kids in a time where we had Facebook, but it wasn't. Like I didn't have internet at home. I don't even think I had a smartphone. So all I had was the what to expect when you're expecting. And that was it. And many times I've had to say, God, how do you want me to raise this one? Because this one is not the same as this other one.
Mm,
Um, but there has been things where obviously I'm like, I don't want to lay hands on you. Or maybe I'm not being too stern. I have questioned like, am I too soft? I've had those moments. You just figure it out.
got you. Okay. Okay. Now, what I want to know, because this is where I think the tea or the juiciness really lays in.
Uh-oh.
Tell me more about after you left your mama's and daddy's house and you got grown and did a little bit of dating. You hooked up with, you got into a relationship with a young brother, and of course, he's the
Mhm.
man of your kids and whatnot. But just kind of just fill me in on that time of your life where you were in college, just trying to figure things out. Yeah, give me the tea on that.
Yeah, so I actually moved out of my parents' house the day I got married. Like I was that chick, like I'm moving out the day I get married. Like
Yeah,
now I had met this man at church and like that's a whole other story. But my parents, they just knew this is not the guy for you. And at that time when I had met him, we began to have sex. And I, as sold out for Jesus, I was like, that means I am not serving in any ministry because I just failed the Lord, and I can't approach a throne being like this. I just felt too filthy, too dirty. And so what I did is because I was working full time and I was going to school full time, I quit everything with the guises of I'm too busy, and nobody questioned it. Like nobody bat an eye, and that was just the normal. Um, but then we decided like we're just gonna get married. The parents were not having it, but I walked out of their house on the day I got married. And I gave him my address on a little piece of paper, dressed as a bride. I'm like, this is where I'm gonna be living at, and that was that. Like, eventually, we got in contact and we amended some things, but it was rough. So no, I didn't date. Like I didn't. First of all, I was that kid. I was too sold out for Jesus for anybody to like even approach in high school or middle school. Yeah,
were you were you were you the type of chick that you just wore skirts and just you were very
very
Pentecostal?
Pentecostal like.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Up until age 16, then we moved to a non-denominational church, and that was like, oh, we can wear pants and that kind of stuff. But I think the Pharisee in me was still there, and it was there for many, many years without me realizing it. Um, but no, I actually didn't was not paying attention or looking for anybody until I got out of high school. Like it wasn't a thing. Like I was
Mm,
just too focused in ministry life.
mm. Yeah,
Yeah,
because I mean, you were leading the prayer.
Bishop Junior.
At school, you were doing prayers and all that. Okay, all
We're
right.
doing the Lord's work,
Lord's work. Hey, okay.
not being a normal teenager.
But I want to know what, because I think I think there was maybe, I don't know, music or friendship or something in your life that, I don't know, made you want to, I guess, not necessarily sin, but just try out different things. Like, what age was that when you were like, oh, there's secular music? Oh, there's
Yeah.
nightclubs. Oh, there's this, or there's this. Like, what age or what season was it for you when you realized, oh, like
There's a whole other
a
world.
whole other world? And not that I'm trying to leave Jesus, but it's like, oh,
Yeah, yeah.
okay, cool. When was that for you?
It happened at various stages of my life. For starters, at age 13, I was a diehard NSYNC fan. Okay.
Listen, same. I ain't gonna hold you. I ain't gonna hold you. Go
I,
ahead.
I don't know why, but it's all the craze. And then it's like, oh, what's TLC and MTV? And I'm a sucker for cinematography. So it's like, oh, the way they put music videos together, I think has always caught my attention. But you have to kind of really watch that very hush hush. You can't
Mhm.
say it.
Right.
And then when I graduated high school, we moved to Florida. And then I uncovered salsa and bachata. And
Oh,
I was like, my DNA was screaming for this stuff. Um, like I remember I used to buy the little bootless CDs at the bodega because I used to work in a bodega. Like I was just immersed in the Latino culture in ways that I just couldn't be immersed in Cleveland. And when Mama found the CDs, not the devil's music in her house. This is before streaming, okay?
understood. Understood.
But you know, it was just always with me. But I understood that okay, there are not all salsa music or all secular music is bad.
Right.
You just got to focus on the context of it.
Hmm.
And the Holy Spirit will let you know. Well, maybe you shouldn't be listening to something, but
For sure. Okay. Okay.
mhm.
All right. So, when did you know? This is the ratchet in me that's coming out now. When did you know that you were a baddie?
I don't consider myself a baddie. And I've had this conversation with my kids because my daughter says, she called me a baddie like a couple weeks ago. I was like,
Okay, let me reword it for you. When you realize that, oh, men are attracted to this. All right, all right. When did you know then? When did you
never,
know
that's
that?
never been a thing.
Because you mentioned that there were some fellas that would try to holler at you at the bodega. So that's where that question stems from.
um, but I feel like that's just a cultural thing. The bodega is where like sin abounds. Okay. The men will come in and just get their flirt game on like they probably don't get at the house.
Okay,
Like,
okay, I love it. Okay, okay, okay. I see where you're coming from. Okay, okay. So you don't really perceive, not saying that you out here looking crazy, but you just didn't really see yourself in that way.
no, and for the longest time I felt, especially when I after the divorce and everything, I'm talking to God like, yo, Lord, I feel like you've made me invisible. Like, what's up with
Hmm.
that?
Yeah.
I see so and so, these people getting asked out on dates and things like that. And this is just me being honest and vulnerable. Like, I know who I'm talking to. I know that I'm speaking to the sovereign one, the creator of the universe. But I love how his grace just gives us, in his grace, he gives us this room to just be honest. I'm like, I'm kind of pissed. I feel like nobody's looking my way. Like, why?
Hmm. Hmm.
You're keeping me on a short leash. Like, what's up with that? Um, but I also realize that it's like, his providence is over, like his providential hand is over me. Like I have, it's like whatever he's got going on with me is so consequential to his will that he's gonna keep a tight leash on me. And that's just what it was.
Mm.
Yeah. Like my first date after post divorce, I didn't think it was gonna happen until I saw the man there. I'm like, oh, this has actually happened. I really thought God was gonna cancel that too, because he did everything else. So
Okay.
oh my gosh.
Lord have mercy. Okay. So I guess this is a little bit where I guess we can talk a little bit about your marriage
Hmm.
where um you weren't expecting for things to happen the way that they happened. Um, Definitely want you to talk about your experience with your ex-husband and all the things that you went through, and sheesh, how God, yeah,
Mhm.
when she tells y'all this story, this is crazy because for real, and I know you're gonna laugh at me when I say this, but it's like your story really needs to be on Lifetime, yo, because I see it in my head, like, yo, homie was at the door, and
Mhm.
like that's how I saw it when you were
Yeah.
telling me, and I'm just like, yo, like this is not an actual movie, like this is actual
Well,
real
life.
life.
Yeah.
Floor is yours.
Well, I know this is gonna sound terrible to say, but I'm like, and I've said this to you a few times. I'm in a season where, like Tim Ross likes to say, we shouldn't be putting Jesus glitter on our testimony. We need to say how it was. When I married him, like I loved him as a human. There was a friendship there, but I can't say I was like, oh my gosh, I'm head over heels in love. We married because we couldn't stop having sex, and the parents already knew about it. That was not going well. So he was like, called me at work one day. Do you just want to go get married? I'm like, I guess. Are you sure? And that's what we did. And in that commitment, I knew what that meant. So I'm here committed. Like I'm not in love, but I'm committed to building a life with this man. There's a friendship there at least. And like I said, I love him like a human. So we try to build a life. But before you know it, 7 years in, things just started to shift. 2014, he loses his job. And I just kind of knew that something is off. And at first I thought maybe just grieve because you have to grieve when something goes away or when there's an abrupt change in your life. And at the time I was a full-time homemaker. I'm like, all hands on deck. Whatever we got to do, because I'm just that kind of person. Whatever we got to do. But things didn't change. And before I knew it, because it doesn't happen overnight, I'm in an abusive relationship where no hands are not being laid on me, but everything else is screaming abuse. From the declaration of, hey, I'm no longer going to be providing for the family. I'm not working for anybody else, but I'm not building a business. And now I'm sitting here with the shock of, what am I supposed to do with that? I still got, I'm not going to have my babies living in the street. I don't mind. I can live anywhere. I always say I can live in a car. I can live anywhere. But the kids is a different story. Um, and then from that time, like I just knew God was leading me out of Florida. And I'm like, I've never lived as an adult in any other state away from a parent. I guess we can go to Ohio because I'm from there. That's what I know. And we did, and it was it was the perfect ground for more abuse to happen because now we don't have immediate family around. Now you don't people. I ran a great PR campaign, and I know a lot of women tend to do that with their spouses, especially when there's abuse, where it's like you paint it so perfectly, like, yep, he's working on a business, he's making money here, because there aren't people really seeing, and they just take your word for it. Um, in 2019, we started RV living because he was gonna build a house from scratch, and he had the plans and everything down, the schematics down to the financing. Like, hey, this is how much is gonna take in cash. Da, 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 da. And I'm very excited. Like, okay, at least he's doing something. Like I'm gonna support it because you just remain hopeful. It's not just you know praying and whatever, but something was still not right. And I knew mental health was a factor. Just to fast forward, by 2019, 2020, things had gotten pretty bad. Um, Phones being broken, my work equipment, because I used to work from home at the time, I was still working from home. He would break it. Like, it would just be these weird episodes at night, or it'll be like, you know what, you're defective. I got to take you back to your parents' house. It'll be episodes like that. Things that I couldn't tell family. Like family still doesn't know these things. They know it was abuse, but they don't know these things. By the time our day came, which is the day I call it Exodus Day, Day of Freedom. April 9th, 2021. By then, it had gotten so bad where I was not allowed to cook. I wasn't allowed to go shopping. I couldn't take the kids with me by myself. It was it was just terrible. Um, there will be times where I couldn't sleep because at nighttime it will be really bad. Either he would keep me up, torturing me to argue. I've heard a lot of people have experienced that, like where their abuser just keeps them up at night and then you can't function during the day. Down to me uncovering he had a eHarmony account because he felt like, "Oh, I got to bring a third person to the marriage to keep an eye on you and control over you. So I can, in his mind, if he can go somewhere, there would be a third person in the house keeping watch over me." But the biggest lesson not the biggest, but one of the lessons I learned is we've got to stop telling people just go, just leave. I couldn't just leave. I learned there were laws. State of Virginia, I can't just take my kids. I could go, but I can't take my kids. But 9 months I tried. Again, I'm into the criminal justice. I'm like a law geek. So I'm here putting petitions together. Like I'm doing this all hush hush. Because the most dangerous time when a victim is trying to leave, the time when they're the most dangerous when they're trying to leave. You have to be really careful, very, very quiet. And I just couldn't do it. No court would take my pleading. And it was more like, well, he's never laid hands on you. So that's not what we could do. But one day April 8th, I locked myself in the bathroom. I'm like, God, I need you to come rescue us. Like, I need you to come rescue. I feel like my mind was slipping. What a lot of people don't know is, okay, I could leave the house, but I couldn't leave the kids, bring the kids with me. And I think deep down he knew I would never leave the kids. So like, if I'm leaving without the kids, like it's cool, she'll be back. But I would take the time to walk to a psychologist. And I would tell him this was going on. Because if something happens to me, I want it to be recorded. Like what was going down. Family don't know, but somebody's got to know. I really thought he was going to kill us at some point. Either that or I'm going to lose my mind. And yeah, and it was by the way, it was a weird feeling because even when you're going through stuff, it's like you end up preaching to people. And I remember the psychologist sitting there taking little notes. And she's like, "Well, aren't you scared to leave?" I'm like, "Absolutely. But exoduses don't happen in an easy manner. You walk towards the promised land and like with fear and everything. You just move." And she's like, "Oh, that's good. Let me write that down." And it's just like, I didn't come here to preach to you, ma'am. My life is falling apart.
Wow.
But I just felt like God kept us. And in hindsight, when I hear people's stories, I'm like, it didn't get nowhere near as bad as it could have. So even there, his hand was with me. Even though that was my hell, his hand was still with me. And he took me out right on time. Right on time. In the end, he did end up putting hands on me. He shoved me across the room and it was this whole thing. But I did, God did walk me through forgiving him. And forgiveness, not in the everything is cool. It just meant to me, forgiveness, as I'm trying to understand it, is stop trying to pursue justice for yourself or revenge or whatever. It still hurts. I still want nothing to do with you. I'm still dealing with the ramifications of the hurt you left behind, but I'm no longer looking for you to pay for what you did. God's got you. So I was able to forgive in that regard, as I'm defining it at that. But throughout that, God walked me through forgiveness by actually serving him. Because he ended up going to a mental health facility and I was still legally married to him. So they would reach out to me as to give me health updates and to ask me questions on medication. It's like, well, you're his next of kin. I'm like, do y'all not realize what's going on here? But it's like, nah, you still advocate for him and his rights. When I saw that sometimes he wouldn't be mentally there, I would be at these trials, like at the court sessions or hearings or whatever, and like, hey, he's not mentally competent, y'all. Like I still had to advocate for him because the Holy Spirit won't let me like not speak up. I would still drop money off in his account at the mental health facility so they can give him snacks and things like that. It's just bizarre. But it was God guiding me through forgiveness. Um, he came out and I still had to co-parent with him, which was crazy. And I said to God the most simple prayer. I'm like, God, I'm not asking you to take him out of this world, but I need him gone from our lives. Within 7 days, he did something dumb that order of protection, you can't contact these people no more. I'm like, that was quick, God. But that's that. I know you didn't do this, but that was a lot.
I only have just a couple of questions about that. Man, going back to when you were living with him and your children and you were experiencing the abuse, um, I'm kind of like your therapist. I would have been like, well, aren't you scared? Like, because if you think about it, I would have been gone. But at the same time, you had your kids. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And so it's just crazy on how this situation pans out because you literally couldn't do anything.
Mhm.
I mean, it would be different if it was just you and him, like, oh, I'm
Peace
done.
out. Yeah.
Peace. But it's the kids, you know,
Hmm.
and I just want to know like how were you able to still show a positive face in the midst of what you were going through with homeboy and you were still able to, you know, be cool and calm and collected with the kids and still keep them safe.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna say the positive thing, but I think what helped in being able to put face is the fact that I didn't have any friends or family in the area. Isolation is the one thing the enemy will try to do. Period. Is always isolate us, whether it's depression or whatever. The tactic is number one, let's isolate you. And abusers use that same tactic. They will isolate you. So
Mm,
I was in a place where I have no friends, no family. We weren't allowed to go to church at that point. So I didn't even have a church community. It was like, well, you can go, but you can't take the kids. And if you go, I already know what time the service is. So you better be home by a certain time. I can't go to church like that, you know? So I was very isolated. And then I would call extended family once a week. There, I would really put at the front, like, everything's great. How are you guys doing? How's the weather in Florida? How are the kids? But my family, they were like, we knew something was off. We just didn't know. Like, we knew something was off and it was with him, but we didn't, we just didn't know it was that. We don't know it was to that extent. Because, again, I ran a great PR campaign because that's just what you do. So people didn't know. In front of my kids, I try to keep it as normal as possible for them, still playing with them. I remember the time I would bond with my son by playing Among Us. I don't know, remember that game? And and this was also around COVID, so everybody's in their houses anyway.
right.
People remember COVID because we got to quarantine. I was isolated, trying to survive. I don't know. Well, I lived. I experienced COVID in a completely different way than everybody else did.
Mm,
I'm just here in hiding trying to survive, which stats show that abusive episodes increase in households because now we have the isolation and people don't know what's up.
right. Wow.
Yeah.
Now, because I'm sure that your kids are very intelligent and highly aware. Um, did you ask them what they remembered from that season or from that time? How were they feeling?
They remember all of it. And I feel like that's where the mom guilt comes in because it's like, could I have done something different to shield them, to protect them? Because even when we got out, I'm here trying to, firstly, Divorce, even though I was not in love, it was still painful. I felt like, because I lived with the guy for 14 years, I felt like I lost a limb. Not that I know what that's like, but it felt like a part of me was dying, and like I lost somebody to death. And then now let's process abuse on top of that. And let's process the court proceedings on top of that. On top of, like, I had to be on leave from work. I couldn't go to work and function. So now I have financial pressures because, yeah, I get medical leave, but I'm only getting like 60 to 80% of my paycheck. I still got to figure out the rest. I still got to figure out how to move. It's just a lot. So I'm trying to not fall apart. It's like there's also these children that are hurting. And I didn't realize how much they were hurting until much later. And I felt so bad. And then I try to do that. Well, we got to get them to therapy because that's just what you do. And that's not even what they wanted to do. And the type of therapy, we were going to talk to the therapist. And it's like, that's not even what we need right now. That's not even what we want right now. So, but they remember extensively. Even when we try to co-parent, I felt bad because it's like you're kind of legally forced to spend time with the person that you experienced, that you saw abusing your mom, and now is taking the wrath out on you, and now is behaving in weird ways around you. And that was rough. That's why I had to say that prayer, like, Lord, I need him gone for real.
What would you tell a woman that is going through a similar situation that you went through? How would you encourage them today?
Yeah, well, I want to say that it's not one thing I've learned. It's not exclusive to women. We Domestic violence can be.
I was gonna say that, but I was like, wait a minute though, because
Yeah,
I actually, sorry to cut you off. I
it's okay.
actually was in a training a couple of weeks ago, and it says that SA and DA, it doesn't is it's not just specific to women, but men can go through it too.
Yes.
And I was like, what? Because the
Yes.
only reason why I thought that was because I'm like, well, we're we're strong, you know, we could do it,
No. Yeah.
but it's true. It's like men will, and oh God, I don't want to laugh, but it's like because you would never think of it because the man is stronger. So I can't see a man like running for shelter because he's dealing with a woman that's abusing him. Like
Mhm.
that's crazy, but it does happen. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, firstly, I think is what we identify abuse as. I think immediately our minds go into physical abuse, and abuse comes in coercion, isolation, intimidation, financial abuse. And we see where I see women all the time. Sometimes the way they talk to their husbands, and it's like, huh, okay. The way you control the money is like, no, I'm taking control of the money. You can't do the. That can cross the line very quickly into abuse, and you trying to emasculate your husband and things like that. So sometimes that's what it looks like. Although I did, after I published my book, I had this man, because I talk about it in my book. This man approached me. He's like, yo, I'm so glad you talked about this, and that you talk about the fact that it's not just women. He's like, I went through domestic violence with my wife, and the people at the church didn't believe me because I'm the man.
Right.
And he's like, she would hit me. I was like, and people wouldn't believe him. And so also to me, I think it could be, to me, what I identify as domestic violence is abuse that's experienced at the hands of anybody that you live with. That could be grandma, could be a parent. And let not bring spiritual abuse, because I've seen parents where they're like, well, the word says honor your mother and your father. It's just, we could talk about this at great lengths maybe another time, but it just looks different for everybody. And abuse, we have abuse in ministry, abuse in behind the pulpit, abuse, but domestic violence is within the home. So it could be a roommate, it could be grandma, it could be grandpa, it could be, if you live with them, that's domestic abuse. That's just me. I forgot what the question was.
I did too because I blacked out for a minute. Yes, okay, yes. What would you say to women that are going through
Yeah.
what you went through?
Yeah. So I think if somebody was going through what I'm going through, number one, you got to talk about it. Because again, isolation, that's always going to be the number one enemy tactic. Because in isolation, you think you're going crazy. Literally, you are losing your mind. Nobody knows what's going on. That's just giving more power to the abuser, more power to the enemy.
Mm,
You gotta let somebody know. Now, who you tell, discernment's required, of course, some wisdom is required, but you gotta tell somebody. Don't try to do it in your own strength. I try to do it over 9 months, thinking, well, I'm pretty savvy when it comes to legal documents and things like that. I'm kind of well versed in this type of law, da da da, because I'm a whole law geek. I could do it, and I really could, but it's like I didn't ask God for help. Like I didn't ask him, God, how should I do this? Come and rescue me. Like I didn't say any of that. Not that I wasn't praying, but I didn't ask him, come rescue us. I never asked him, come help us. I'm praying for the man, like God change him, and Lord, I'm believing you for restoration. But I'm not to think if I'm like, I don't think one time I had said, come rescue us. Will you come bring about deliverance? So obviously, as best as you can, talk to God about it, but do not isolate whatsoever, and try your best to find something that keeps you alive. For me, it was my kids. Because keeping it real, I had suicidal thoughts. I even, at one point, I even had homicidal thoughts because it's like, I need to get, like, the pain is so bad where it's like, this has got to end. I even consider, like, well, can I bear living with this person until they're 18? Like, I consider my options. I even consider, because I couldn't take the kids with me, otherwise it would be considered parental kidnapping. Could I live a life on the run? When I tell you, I considered the options, just, but try to find something that anchors you. For me, it's like, do not give up. These kids need you. If you off yourself, now they're stuck with him. If you kill him, now they don't have you because now you're in prison. Okay, so if you are a life on the run, they can't see grandma and grandpa. They can't. You can't. Like, focus on the kids. So that was my anchor at the time. What made me like, I can't let my mind slip. I can't make these rash decisions. But just find something to kind of cling to.
going back to your Exodus day and help me to explain this last part because I think this last part was amazing. How the cops came and you and the cop kind of spoke a little bit in code,
Hmm.
and like that was your Exodus day for you and your kids to be able to leave the house. I definitely want you to end with that.
Yeah. So Exodus Day happened April 9th, but I'm like, I have to do something different. I decided to go on a medical leave in March. I was going through stressors. And I finally had to confide in my boss in March and say, because I'm having to replace work equipment. I said, "Yo, my husband broke it. The company had to ship out. Like, they were so supportive." And my boss has asked me this. He's like, "Are you stressed?" I'm here like, "What kind of questions?" Of course I'm stressed. He's like, "Are you seeing somebody for that stress?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah." That's when I started seeing the therapist. I'm like, "Well, now that you mention it, yes." He's like, "Well, have they like, I felt he was leading me into take some FMLA under the guises of stress. I was like, I got you. So I came home one day and told this man, I quit my job. Because remember, the financial piece is he knew I wasn't going to leave the kids without a roof over their heads. Without I didn't do anything. So now I'm like, well, could I maybe apply jobs, for jobs somewhere else or etc. And one day, I don't know why, I ended up getting a call to go to a job interview. I still had a job. I'm like, I don't know, I'm just gonna go because he lets me leave the house as long as I don't have the kids. But he saw me with business attire and was like, you can leave, you can go to whatever you're gonna do, but you can't take the keys. We only have one car. And he blocked the door, like wouldn't let me through, holding the keys. And then he decided he wasn't gonna let me leave the house, and that's when he shoved me across the room. He shoved me across the room and went and sat down. But I knew, like, oh my gosh, you finally laid hands on me. This is the thing that's been holding us up. Not that I was like happy to have laid, hands laid on me, but I'm like, you finally did it. So I went out the door and I started calling 911, and I could hear him lock the door of the apartment. The cops come out and they're trying to talk to him and see what's going on. And he's talking to them at the outside of the apartment. They're like, sir, she holds the lease here, et cetera, et cetera. Like, you can't just lock her out of the apartment. And they're telling me, ma'am, you can't just take the kids. So there was the main officer, and then there was somebody with him. And they told me what I've heard time and time again, you can't just take the kids. And this one officer kept telling me, he's like, well, you could just fight for the kids in court later. I'm like, are you asking a mother to leave the kids behind with this mess? And next thing I know, my kids peek out through the window, and the second officer sees the kids. He's like, wait, how old are they? I'm like, 9 and 10. And they're like, oh, I think they thought they were little kids. They're like, well, ma'am, you can't take the kids. But at their age, if they want to come with you, they can come with you. I was like, ah, I got it. So they left, went to the front office, got me a spare key, went inside, and I told the kids, listen, I left the door open. Like, the cop said, mommy can't take you. Like, I can't take y'all. But if y'all want to walk out the door, freedom's just outside of it. My daughter bolted. My son froze. To this day, he feels bad that he did that. But I tried to tell him it's fight or flight. Like you froze. It's okay. Um, she bolted and he followed her, and she ran to what she considered safety, which was the front off the leasing office. And he chased her there. And because he was chasing a child and caused all this commotion, they had to call cops again. And he went back to the apartment and locked himself up. But my son was meant to be inside of that apartment because the cops were coming, and like, they didn't know where he was at, if he was dangerous, if he was armed, if he was gonna da da da. And you know what that happens when they don't know what the suspect is doing. And again, it's having that still that mercy and that grace for him, even in the middle of that, where I'm like, no, 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 like, let's not go in there in violence against this man. Like, hold on a second. So I was messaging my son through, I think it was like Google Chats or something like that, because the kids didn't have a phone.
Right.
And I'm like, he's like, I think dad's on the phone. I'm like, who's he on the phone with? I think he's on the phone with his mom. Like, my son could kind of guide us where he was in the apartment. So it was crucial for him to be inside of that apartment. And I'm like, it's okay. They're coming for you. Just stay calm, stay in your room. And the cops are able to go in and get him arrested with no violence, like, because they knew where he was at based on what my son was telling him. And away he went. Yeah. But I don't ever talk about these things. You know why?
Why?
Because I never want to focus on the gore. I always want to focus on, like, well, let me show you how God provided during the season. Let me show you how God healed in the season. Let's focus on what God did versus the gore. But sometimes I feel like it's important to talk about it because it took me a minute to realize, is this abuse? Because this doesn't look like what we see on TV. And then I even had to have a moment where I'm like, God, was that all mental health issues or was that evil as well?
I was just gonna ask you that because it's like, was that a demon manifesting, or was that no, like he really has some mental, like behavioral issues?
It's both. It's and both can coexist. It can. So the courts forced him to be in a mental health institution not because they cared about his mental health. It was more, we need you competent enough to withstand these court proceedings so you can understand your rights and, whatever. So they would medicate him. So when he came out, he seemed better because he's not medicated, but you're still not acknowledging what you did. Accountability's not there. You're still like there's still aspects where I'm like, nah, you're definitely an abuser. Like this is definitely you. So both can coexist. I just feel like the mental health aspect just made it worse. It just made it worse.
Could it possibly be that he saw God in you, that
Mm.
those demons didn't know, wow, didn't know what to do. Oh, I don't want
Yeah.
to say demons, but you know
Yeah.
what I mean, right?
Yeah. And it could have been one of those things. I don't know. I've never even considered this question before. And I'm like, okay, I'm trying to something happened in 2014. Whatever happened with losing that job, where
Right.
maybe the presence of God was no longer with him. We see this with Samson,
Oh,
and God left him, and he didn't even know. How many people we see in the word Saul, God
I was
left
just
him.
gonna say Saul. Yes.
Where
Yes.
there's comes to a time like, hey, I'm departing from you. My hand is departing from you. My cloud and my presence is no longer over you. And sometimes we don't even notice it until we're too far out. We're too far out. But yeah. But I'm like, well, it made me the person I am today. Like, I don't know how it would have turned out if I hadn't gone through any of this. I don't know.
It is such an honor and a
Thank you.
privilege just to have you come
Thanks
on
for
the
having
pod.
me.
We gotta do it again.
Thank
And
you. Till next time.
till next time for sure. Thank you so much for coming on. And this has been episode 108 of the Bar and Friends podcast. Thank y'all for listening. Thank y'all for viewing, watching, all of that. And till next time. Love y'all. See y'all later.
Bye.